are now checking out
the Win Podcast,
where the everyday people
are the celebrities.
So let's get to know them.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the podcast. Who am I? Right now, I would say I am a student of. Be like, oh, I'm a student of a game. No, I'm honestly just a student of my interests. To be honest, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So
explain that.
Meaning like I'm at a point in my life where I know what I'm interested in. I already got past that experimental phase where I'm, just trying. I call it like dipping the toe in the water in different professions, different arts, just to see what I like and what I don't like. Because growing up, I didn't really explore, really. So like when teachers or your mentors ask you, what did you want to be when I was younger, I never took the leap of faith. I was always kind of secluded to myself until really after I graduated high school. And then I was just like, you're at that point like, okay, what do I do in my life? Besides the college and, that role. But I just got to a point where, I just wanted to say, okay, the first step I knew to take was, what am I interested in? And, that's what led to, of course, music. It led to my trading profession as a financial trader, following in the footsteps of my father. It led to, what else did it lead to? It just led to a lot of different things that I experimented with. Like, I remember during the period, like in between like 18 to, because I'm about to be 25 this year. So in between like 18 to 23, I was doing a lot of internships at a lot of studios. I was doing financial internships. Like I had an internship at Bank of America. So I was just trying to really figure out what I wanted to do and really who I wanted to follow, to be honest with you. Because, I always had, my biggest influencers were my mother and my father. So my father was like the non-traditional, non-religious, musical, spiritual, experimental type of guy. And then my mother was like by the book. Like, this is how life works. You're going to go to school. You're going to go to college. You're going to get a job.
So you had two different almost styles of discipline. Yes. One was by the book. The other one was like pretty much freedom. Go figure it out. Right. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to learn from it. Right. But it's all good. Right. You said in that moment that you didn't really explore for like a while. Right. So what was that tick that made you say, you know what, I can't be that way and now I need to like start exploring?
Well, once I had an honest conversation, like after I graduated high school, it's like that saying, like they say, during school you're your mother's baby, and then once you're out of school, you're just that person in the house, just walking. Yeah. Just walking around.
I always felt like coming back from college, I called it the weak love. Yeah. Because I went away to college, and then my mom was like, miss me. And I came back. The first week was like, oh my God. It was like, I was like Eddie Murphy and coming to America. Like I had everything in that palace. Yeah. My mom was washing me in the rags. She was like, Ricky, the royal penis is clean. Exactly. I'm getting all the food for that first week. Right. Once Monday hit, I was like, Ricky, when the fuck you gonna get the fuck out? When you gonna get a job? You don't help me around the house. You think I'm your slave. Right. So you have that moment now where you're like, all right. Yeah. It's like you're having that honest conversation with yourself, and your mom is having that honest conversation with yourself. So.
Yes. And even now, like before I started working at Amazon, like when it was like 6 or 7 months, I wasn't working because I was helping my father with trading, but technically I was off the books, so I wasn't working. And of course, my mother respects my father's profession because it has the potential to, put you in a different lifestyle. So, and she sees that. But at the end of the day, a bill has to be paid, rent has to be paid. Right. So I noticed that, like as you said, that weak love. It's like during that period when I wasn't working, it was just like I'll come home, there's no food. You know, like I gotta make my own food.
This is when you graduate high school?
This is after I graduated high school, because during that time,
damn, she just took you out to celebrate, and the next day it was like,
it was like we went to where did we go to? I think we went to like
Red Lobster.
No. we went to somewhere like Chili's or something like that. And it was like, hey, great celebration. Then I had like one grace period week of like, all right, what's this boy gonna do? And I didn't really respond in any way. I was like, I'm just gonna chill right now. Let's play some video games. And then it was just like, once you see those, like, cause my mom's not direct, she's indirect. Mm-hmm. So once you see those signs, like there's not food on the table, you gotta do your own laundry, which I'm happy that I know those skills now, so that, you know, when I get out in the world, I don't have to depend on nobody to do that for me. But it's just like, dang, like I miss that comfort. So, and going back to what I was saying, like now that I'm working at Amazon, it's like my mom is more, she's more helpful now. So like, going to work, I go with my lunch now that she cooked. When I come home, there's dinner. Like I'm just like, okay, because I'm helping out, like I'm contributing, and it makes sense.
And you give a free 2-day shipping, so
yeah, exactly. She get a 10% discount, so of course she's gonna make sure that food there. So, you best be damn. So. So just gonna make sure, but no, and to answer your question,
you had that moment. You had that moment now, like locking in, like honest conversation with yourself.
Yeah, and then like growing up, like I always tell people, like growing up, because people who know me growing up and then people who know me now is really two different versions. So what I mean by that is like growing up, due to different, I won't say pressures, but due to different influencers that I had in my life. And like growing up, I remember I told you about this a long time ago when we was getting ready for the show. Like growing up, I was under my mom's kind of wing at the time, and my father was always there in my life. My father has always been there, but he took, how can I say, he didn't. It's not that he took a step back. It's just that he allowed things in the household to be run while he takes care of, you know, the main stuff like the bills, making sure that there's food on the table, making sure that we're good financially. But as far as like nurturing, as far as like learning for your parents, learning about the world, it was really under my mom. And as I said, my mom's by the book. My mom's, you know, very disciplined. My mom's very religious. So, and really that religious factor, you know, growing up Pentecostal Christian, like, you know, being by the book, can't dress like this, can't talk like this, can't walk like this, can't hang with these certain amount of friends. You know, who you going out with, make sure you're home by 7. Like these things kind of like slowly
put you in a cage.
Yeah, put me in a bubble. And it wasn't like I had bad intentions, you know. And I'm pretty sure now that I look back on it, I could have been a little bit more out there with myself. I know I'm not gonna completely put the blame on my parents because it's not their fault. Like it was partially me too, because there were a lot of times where I had opportunities to step up, but I didn't.
Well, but you know, I can agree with you. We're not putting blame on no one, but it installed a fear in you to try to do something else, because if not, you'll be reprimanded. You know, and but for a while, by having that held you back for a while to know who and what you are truthfully. To like go out and explore, and then I guess having that moment with yourself, like, well, no, fuck that. I'm gonna go and explore and see what the world is about with my own eyes, not somebody else's eyes, not religious eyes, not my father's eyes. I'll keep those lessons in mind, but I need to go out and see for me. Yeah,
exactly. Because you know, growing up, you know, in my church, they always had this saying that, I guess it was like a fear mechanism tool to kind of like keep on coming back to church. So, you know, they used to always say like, you know, there's no point of exploring the world because the world is dying, you know, or, you know, there's nothing out there in society that is more worthier than what you have here, you know, worthier than God and stuff. And I guess I got to a point, and this is why I always say I'm my father's son all the way, because it got to a point where I just had questions. And then after graduation day at my high school, it just got to like, all right, let's see what happens. You know, if I fall flat on my face, at least I know I can come back. I can come back from it, you know? And I kind of wanted to really shake the boat here and just figure out if what they were telling me while I was growing up, does it hold weight? You know, is it real? Saying that, you know, the world is dying, there's nothing
Right.
out there in the world that's special. And surprisingly, really not surprisingly, really, I'm glad I took that step in saying, okay, I'm going to take a step back from what I've been taught and let me have a truly open mind to different people's opinions, different people's perspectives, religions, different people's mentality, how they look at life. So it kind of snowballed all the way until Guitar Center where I met you. So that's why, like, when we really got to, you know, coming every Saturday out to see you guys, see you, Cloud, Guru, everybody, that was really like my first time being around like-minded individuals who were really just open. Like, those were you guys, honestly, I could say, besides like my father and a few other people, like, you guys were the first I've ever met that were truly open-minded about things. And when you guys listen, like how you doing now, I know you're listening for sure. So I never, in the show that we had, I mentioned to the people while I was, you know, giving my little segment, I said, you know, when you approach me, don't wear a mask, right? When you wear a mask, it bothers me because I know when I'm wearing a mask, right? And it's very easy for me. And when I say wearing a mask, meaning you're not being who you really are. You're masking yourself. You're being like that chameleon. You're just adapting to the environments that you're in. But when you're around me, I always ask people, don't put on a mask with me, because I make sure it's my duty to give you who I am, right? And that means all sides of me, right? Because there's multiple personalities. Not saying I have multiple personality disorder. I'm saying
we
like
got
this.
medication for that.
Yeah. Like there's different character traits, right? Like every day you're not gonna wake up the same, right? Some days you're gonna be moody. Some days you're gonna be happy, joyful. Other days you may be like, shit, like today just fucking sucks, right? So I always try to approach myself. I always try to approach people in a way that I would like to be approached, right? So that's kind of where I stand.
So how did you feel when you took your mask off and was out there in that world? And what did you learn about yourself throughout that period?
I was terrified, to be honest with you. I was really terrified because there was so much growing up. And I really do have to play, like, you know, I really have to put religion in this. Like, religion really...
But you're speaking your truth.
Right, yeah. Religion, I feel like religion really fucked me up in my head as far as trying and really being who I am. Like, for instance, after high school, like, I really got heavy into music, and I really got heavy into dance. Like, just dance alone. That was one thing I always cherished. Like, growing up, I was always attracted to dance, like different styles, ballet, hip hop, light feet. You know, I was always interested in this, but I never explored it. I never explored it until after I got out of high school because I was always scared of judgment. And that was like really that's the one word that really falls when it comes to my childhood, growing up, my teens, was just judgment, fear of being criticized, fear of if I take off this mask, what would people really think about me? Like all these insecurities running through my head. And after high school, once I was out and, you know, now I was in the real world, like I saw people being themselves. Like I ran into, of course, you know, you run into the occasional mask holders and stuff like that. And then of course, when I ran into you guys, it was like, you guys were like the mountaintop for me. It was like, okay, cool. You can be yourself. Like you can dance anew, right? You can dance your heart out. You can go if you told me when I was 15 that, you know, I'll be out there on 14th Street getting down like with the street dancers, right? Who'll be having the buckets out for money. You tell them like, yeah, you're gonna be out there dancing with them and having a joyous time. I'll be looking at you like, no, that's not me at all. Like I'm gonna stay at home. I'm gonna play this game. I'm gonna go to church. I'm gonna read my Bible. I'm gonna pray. I'm gonna do that. So that's why I said in the beginning that like when people who knew me growing up and people who know me now, it's like it's two different people. And I do get that. It's like, yo, I didn't know you was into this. Yo, I didn't know you like this. I didn't know you like to dance. I didn't know you like this type of music. I didn't know you listened to this. You was just like this good little church boy. So I didn't expect that from you. And I was like, I didn't expect that from me either at first. But once I said, people are going to talk about you to the day you die. Even after you die, people still going to be talking about you. So what matters most is the words that come out your mouth about yourself. So once I really harnessed that and realized that, like, the only opinion that really matters is myself and what I say to myself. And when I look in that mirror every morning and, when I say, okay, today, what do I want to work on? What do I think of myself? Those are the thoughts that really matter, because that's how I'm going to react. Like, you can tell me, "No, you suck." Mm-hmm. But if I know I'm the shit, I'm not saying that in an egotistical way, but if I feel like I'm feeling good, if I'm confident, I'm like, no, I know I'm good, I'm straight. It won't bother me. But if you say those same words and I already told myself that this morning, I'm just like, well, maybe he's right. I do suck. It's like when
you ain't shit.
Yeah, I ain't shit. Like, but in reality, it's like I once I realized, and I hope I'm not going everywhere right now, but once I realized that the only words that truly matter to me is the words that come out from me, then I realized, okay, the power is mine to take. So now I can move in my confidence.
So which one came first? Because from being outside, I thought it was the drumming that came first. But it was actually the dance came first. I peeped that in what you were saying. So it was dance first.
Yeah, it was
so
dance
what
first.
was it about dance that caught your attention? And then and then I want to know, when did the drumming take place? Because I only saw in the beginning, like I said, but the passion with the drumming. Like, I saw how you would get lost with that.
Yeah.
And then I'll see videos of you dancing, how you get lost with that.
Yeah.
So I want to touch on those two topics.
Right.
What was it about dance that had you mesmerized, and what did you get from it? And then what was it about the drumming? How did you get into that, and what did you learn from that?
Okay, so all right, let me start with dance.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can tell I really love dance because I got the smile on my face already. I know I can.
And
feel
you
it.
crying? Is it right? You're the first one to ever cried on the Win podcast.
Damn, man, shit, break. Damn. Okay, so dance started literally before my teens, because my sister was into step. So she went to Curtis High School. Shout out to Curtis. She went to Curtis High School and she was on the step team. And my family knows, because there's three of us. I'm the youngest. There's my older sister. She's the middle. And then my oldest brother, Rashawn, he's the oldest. So I always looked up to them. But, due to the fact that me and my brother were I think 9 or 10 years apart, once he moved out, it was just me and my sister. Mm-hmm. So growing up, my sister, my musical interests, if you look at my sister's playlist, it's going to mirror my playlist. Because we shared the same room. I used to watch her step. I used to watch her practice. And then and this was during a time where hip hop was at the early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Hip hop was in that dancey, southern.
When people actually was dancing, you mean?
Yeah,
wow, that's so weird. That's new to me.
I mean, hip hop was always about. Don't get me wrong, hip hop was always about dance, but it had its different phases, and because I do acknowledge that hip hop always started as dance, right? But during that era, between the late 90s, early 2000s, that's when you had the Snap Your Fingers. That's when you had Light Feet coming up. That's when you had in the West, they called it clowning. That's when it was a lot of rocking. So it was just a whole lot of different things coming into my reality where I was just okay, there was something about dancing that I was just drawn to. I think it was just the energy behind it, and then also due to the fact that I was a timid and shy kid. When I had those short bursts when I just let myself go and I was dancing, it was the reaction from the people that I loved. It was I felt that I was being seen. And it wasn't in a way as okay, I want everybody's attention, like a social media influencer, I'm begging for attention. It wasn't that. It was just I'm a part of the group. I finally get to be a part of something that is deemed cool, that is deemed stylish.
To me, what it sounds like, it was one of the first things where you was accepted for something that was so maybe would have been frowned upon in a different world. That's
Right.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Two, you're finally being honest and free with yourself, exploring something that you want to do.
Right.
And then three, the attention that you wanted in a positive way from your parents, you're now receiving it from people.
Right. But I'm actually,
because like you know, because your mom and dad were there, but there was you couldn't do certain things probably, like you couldn't do the dancing thing in front of your mom, I'm assuming.
No.
Like that. And
No.
boom, and he's like,
Nah.
and, you know what I'm saying? So your dad would probably look at it as like, all right, cool, but I have to make sure the bills are paid right now.
Right.
So
right.
they did pay attention to certain elements of you, but the element that you found so passionate about, you knew you couldn't bring it home because it wasn't going to get the receptance that
Right.
you got when people from the world was like, yo, that's actually fucking dope. So
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
wow.
yeah.
And you're like, thank you.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I know it's cool. And
Yeah.
wait, you guys not going to beat me after this? Or,
Yeah.
or shunning me?
Yeah.
Or saying that I can't? I was like, nah, keep doing it.
Right,
Yeah, like,
right.
And he was like, oh, man, that's so dope.
Right.
So I feel like dance gave you overall like almost freedom,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and there was lessons that like, hey, it's okay. And also you let out probably your aggression, your stress, your depression, and also filled it up with happiness when you was actually doing something that
Yeah.
you truly enjoy.
Yeah. So yeah, you hit it literally right on the dot. And just I gotta clear the air. So for people that's listening to this, I was not bullied growing up. I was not bullied growing up. I wasn't, I wasn't joked upon. I wasn't thrown in the locker. My that was fine. I was straight in that area.
Yeah.
When I say I didn't like fit in, I just didn't have a group of people that like the typical stereotypical, like these are the jocks, these are the nerds. I didn't have that. I was like that chameleon where I could be relatable to anybody, but at the same time, this is what I was talking about with Mass. Like, I was really good at that to the point where I couldn't identify myself if you told me, like, hey, what are you, like, what do you do? Or who are you? And I'd be like, well, I like this, I like that, I like that. They're like, yeah, but who are you? And I didn't get that. To be honest, I didn't get that answer until I started dancing. Does that make sense? Like,
Yes.
when I first started dancing, and I, as you said, like I got that taste of freedom where it was like, okay, I could be me. And the only way this is going to work, to be honest, the only way dance works is you have to be yourself. If you want to connect with others, you have to be yourself, because dancers know, and everybody that's listening to this, if you're a dancer, you know what I'm about to say. Like, if you come with that fake shit, we can spot it a mile away, and we're going to call you out for it. Like, I can't tell you how many sessions I've been to where you have somebody who jumps in and they're skillful. Like, they have all the technique and everything, but it's empty. It's hollow there. Like, there's something that's missing. And it's usually the character of the person. It's usually like, you can tell when someone's really dancing. They say if you're dancing with your face, you're really dancing. But if you're like 1, 2, 3, boom, boom.
Oh, you ain't shit.
Yeah, it's
You
like you
dancing
ain't
right
shit.
now.
It's like shit. Like, it's like, oh, that shit's whack. Like, it's you're doing
Your
incredible
technique
things.
is good, but your feeling is off.
Yeah, you're feeling this is
It's not
horrible.
there, and you might as well not even do it.
Right,
Yeah.
you're feeling is horrible. So, to make a long story short, yeah, dance was my first taste of freedom, and I was good at it.
So then when did drumming come in, and what did you learn? What did that teach you?
Well, I came into drumming for the wrong reasons, because
Okay.
I came into drumming to leave. This is where I get into the judgmental thing that I was saying. Like, I was scared to fully let go and fully be into that dance culture out of judgment, because I didn't
okay.
start off in hip hop. I started off with tap and contemporary. So that's like,
man, gay! That's what you was afraid of. Oh, come on, nigga. Oh, it's whack. Yo, you heard about a new?
yeah, see, but
He happy feet right now, son.
but like tap, I really did love. I really did. But my parents was like, listen, you can't be practicing around the house. That's just too
Gotcha.
annoying. So I was like, all right, I dropped that. I do contemporary.
But he was like, but I got the Bible. Okay. Tap liner.
But contemporary was really good for me because it was a way to explore yourself. It was literally complete freedom. Like, you go into the studio, you take off. You don't even dance in your shoes. You take off your shoes, take off your socks. It's your feet to the floor, and it's a different feeling. I can't explain it until you have to do that yourself.
Okay.
And you'll get it. But I was also good at hip hop. Like when all the trendy dance moves, snap your fingers, you know, Soulja Boy, all that stuff. Like I could do all those. Those was clean.
So then you stopped that though.
I stopped.
So it's so weird because something you found that gave you like pure joy, you kind of like stopped because you didn't want to be judged being barefoot on the stage.
Yeah.
So when you go back home or to school, it was like, yo, you wearing socks today?
The school that I went to, I was one of the only black kids because I remember I'm growing up in Staten Island now.
Yeah.
So Staten Island, where I went to IS-61. This is where I made that decision to go into drumming and leave dance behind because I had a dance teacher for 2 years in 6th grade and 7th grade. And me and her had a real close relationship. And I remember I went to her and I was like, listen, I'm not going to do this no more. She was like, why? I was like, I just, you know, like, I'm like one of the only black kids in your class doing contemporary. I know I'm good at it, but like, and at that time I had my stupid friends who, you know, were into basketball. They were into all to the stereotypical shit. And, you know, they looked, as you just said, like, gay, all that shit, whack, you bad pussy, all that shit. So I was just like, I wanted to follow that crowd. So I was like, well, I'm gonna pick up something that at least gives me the feeling or it reminds me of that freedom. And I remember one day at church, I went and there was this female drummer. Her name is Sister Darlene. I'll never ever forget her. She was my first teacher, my first mentor. And I just saw her play, and I literally remember the exact day I decided I'm gonna do that. And it was a Friday night. And she was playing, and I used my first 2 index fingers, and we was at the pew while they was doing offering. They usually play music, so I was just like trying to mimic her movements. And I'm like, oh well, this kind of reminds me of dance because it's still the same. I'm not trying to sorry if I'm typing, but it's like it's the same rhythm, and then also like drumming it's still a form in my mind. It's still a form of dance because the sticks are simply just an extension of your hands and your feet. So that's why people when they usually see me playing, like I'm usually dancing to my own rhythm because that's just how that's how I memorize all the techniques of drumming. And
you're barefoot too.
And I'm barefoot sometimes too. Yeah. So it's just like that's what gave me the reminder. So when I saw her play and I saw the feeling and I saw her face and I was like, well, this is kind of like dance. Like, all right, let me get into this. And then, you know, eventually
you brought back that mask.
Yeah.
You started drumming.
Right, yeah, I started drumming.
But
and
behind
then
that mask, you was grooving and dancing.
I was grooving, yeah. Literally, I was grooving, I was dancing. And you can't see it because, you know, the cymbals are blocking, you got the toms blocking you, but I'm literally dancing as I'm playing. So, obviously, I didn't start off great. Like, I started off really bad because you have to get the coordination down of drumming. Like, but it became its own world, but it didn't replace the world that I knew and that I already loved.
So what did drumming bring to your life in that moment now? Since I know it was filling a void for dancing because you were eventually going to go back to that, but
right.
But like you said, it was teaching you something different.
Right, drumming had a profound thing for me, and what I mean by that is like I said to myself, okay, if I can't dance, I want to be in a position where I can make other people dance. And so what I mean by that is it was the best thing about going to church and playing was that like when there was newcomers in and then like, you know, the pianist Billy, when he starts playing, he's like, all right, we're going to do something, right? And I start playing. The first thing I look for, you know, you get the regular beat. And then I look out and then when I see people like, oh, like they nodded when I get that head nod, and I see them like grooving a little bit in their own little churchy way. I was just like, okay, this is cool. Like, it gave me that same feeling as if like when I was dancing. Like when you go into a session and you dancing and you really feeling it, it makes other people want to move. And I was like, I got that same feeling when I was drumming. Like when I'm drumming, and even though I'm not physically like going all out dancing, I'm grooving in my own way and I'm keeping time and I'm, you know, giving the beat. Just that influence that I give other people to move freely in their own right, in their own respect. That gave me a high that I can't explain. Like even when I perform at Underblue, my band, and we play shows, and you know we're out there, we're jamming and we're grooving. I get that same flashback to where I'm in church as a kid, like 15, 14 years old, just playing. and I'm seeing everybody like, oh, this is crazy, like this is nice, and everybody's moving, and I look out in the crowd, now that I'm like 23, 24, and I'm looking out in the crowd and I'm seeing people moving, even though it's not gospel anymore.
Right.
It's just like rock and roll, it's hip hop or something like that. It's still that same feeling as if I was dancing. Instead of people reacting now to my actual physical movements, is people just reacting to the beats. So yes, they're different in their own right, but they're still parallel, and that's what connected it. So that's where those two dominant interests came from. So yeah.
What's a life lesson that you apply, that you learn with your drumming, and also in dance too? Because I'm pretty sure they taught you like deep lessons about yourself, and I know with the drumming it had to be something. Because like dance for me, I feel like taught you drumming.
Right.
I mean, dance for me taught you freedom,
right.
And then the drumming was reminding you about the freedom that you had about dance, and it was teaching you coordination, stuff like that. But I felt like maybe there was a deeper message behind there too, that maybe you found something now, you incorporated it into your drumming now.
I guess the deeper message. Okay, the deeper message for myself was, yes, it did give me those remnants of freedom. But then it also taught me the power of discipline, right? The power of learning a new technique or learning something new and sticking with it, being persistent until it grows and it grows into something that's beautiful and that's magical. And now I could have that in my arsenal that I could use at any time to liberate people from their own shyness or timidness. But
have you ever fused the two together in a way, like you recorded your own drum pattern or drum track and then you did the dancing?
More so on, I guess I never really did that, but I did it more so like on the beatboxing, and like before for instance, when Underblue comes up with the song, right? And they be like, okay, I knew we need a beat to it. I don't just go right on the drums and be like, I'm just knock something out, and then usually it comes in my head, and then I usually beatbox it first. So what does the snare? What do I want the snare to sound like? What do I want the bass to sound like? What do I want the hi-hat to sound like? But I noticed while I'm doing this, like like if I'm doing that, I'm dancing with it too, because I'm trying to imagine myself in the listener's perspective. So like when they show up to the show or when they listen to the song, how are they moving? How do they want to groove? How how do they want to interpret this? While at the same time, I have to take on the melody. I have to take on what my band is bringing me and what the message that they want to bring. So drumming, to me, the deepest thing I got from drumming was it taught me how to bring worlds together. Because, the drummer is the heartbeat, right? It keeps everything together, right? And it was a little bit of a power dynamic too. Like I like the power that I had too. Right. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I like the fact that like we can play a song, like if you're playing your guitar, right? And let's say Gio is on the bass, let's say Water is playing, he's doing vocals or something, right? We can all be playing, I'm on the drums, and we can all be playing, right? And then let's say we wanted to do like a quick like pause break where it gives it like dramatic effect. You guys can stop. I can't. I have to keep time. Like I have to keep going because I gotta make sure those worlds are straight. Like everybody, you may be in your guitar world, he may be in his vocal worlds, he may be in his bass world, and you guys can stop, right? But I have to keep even if I physically stop, but I have to. Like I'm going back into it. So I like that power dynamic that I had. It was just like I was just infusing different things, and I can bring people together. It was the way my mind sees it, and I'm really trying to articulate it as best as possible. And I get it. But it's like it was that cool factor of the fact that I can bring in different elements and combine that and fuse that.
Well, it goes back again. It's so funny. It goes back to freedom,
right? Like it always goes back to freedom
and exploring. The dance gave you that.
Right.
And you didn't have that for so long. Dance
Right.
gave you that.
Right.
And then you limit yourself, put the mask on again, go into drumming.
Right.
And then drumming, you showing you the same lessons again, and also with discipline.
Right.
And then the big factor, like you said, like it's being in control, but the bigger dynamic over it is like how you said, there's so many different worlds I got to bring together, but you're exploring those worlds.
Right.
And then you're like, now how can I bring this together since I'm out there exploring these worlds into one? So once again, it goes back to that to that freedom and exploring.
Yeah.
What was a moment that you like failed so hard, but when you look back at it, man, that was a big lesson I needed to learn. And it could be from anything: childhood, drumming, dance.
The biggest fail lesson was my first entrepreneurial. Because I say after high school, that's when I went under my father's wing, right? Because after growing up during school, my mom. Her number one concern was, I just want you to graduate high school, right? Because my mother didn't have that privilege because she had my oldest brother while she was a teen, right? While she was still very, very young. So going to college, going away, having that, she didn't really have that, but she wanted that for her kids. And I understand that. So once I graduated high school, my mother said, okay, I did my job. You straight. You know what to do. You good. Do what you want. So I kind of like looked at my dad. I was like, all right, it's your turn. Raise me. Like, it's your turn now. Raise me. So looking at my dad, I kind of wanted to model him in a way. So my biggest failure at one point was my friend called me up and he was like, yo, I got an opportunity for you. It was network marketing, and he was like, oh, it involves coffee. It's called Organo Gold. But come down. I'll show you the presentation. I'll do all this stuff for you. So I went down there, saw the presentation. It blew my mind. I'm like, oh, coffee. Everybody drinks coffee. We can sell this. It's organic. It's healthy. I did that, and during that, not because I don't want to cut this story short, but during that whole experience was trial and error, complete trial and error. Going out there, trying to engage with strangers that you don't know, trying to get them interested in your product, and coffee drinkers are the most, like, if they have a coffee that they absolutely adore and that they don't want to change at all, you got to be a damn great salesman to convince them to even try or experiment with your coffee. So, but one thing I did learn is that people love free. So people like, hey, listen, just try this for free, and in exchange, I just want your opinion on it. Boom, 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 boom. But the problem with that is you're losing your product. So
I think, to me, just hearing that, sorry to cut you off, I think one of the biggest lessons that I'm already getting from this story is to be yourself. Stop following.
Yeah.
Stop following
others.
Everybody else.
I was about to get to that.
Stop following everybody else.
Yeah.
You followed your mom's route. You followed your dad's route. You followed your friend's route. You had that moment when you followed your route with dance, let it go. Then you went to drumming as this back burner, but found something there. And this leads into my question. You explored now. You got a great sense of who and what you are. You're an amazing person. You're talented. You're creative. You're loving. You're not like everybody around you. You're unique. You're new. And I want to know, and this will tie into the lesson you learned that you just shared. What does Anu want to do after moving forward?
Right.
Where do you see yourself?
Right.
You already know you saw yourself in other people's eyes.
Yes.
And you got a nice glimpse, and a great glimpse, actually, of who you are in your own eyes.
Right.
And it took you some time to accept that and to be in those shoes confidently. So what do you want to do? Where do you want to take this anew?
Right. Definitely the first thing I do want to go back to dance heavy this time, but more in the sense of competition, of battling. Now that I've met, after going back into it, after I after I graduated and getting to that story, after leaving Organo Gold, after leaving all that entrepreneurship and as you just said, stop following everybody. And I got to that point where I was just like, okay, like the same exact question, like, what do I want to do? The first thing, of course, that came up in my head was, okay, let's get to dance. And that's why I say, like, 3 years ago, like, I was posting heavy. Like, after I met you that day, I think it was, like, the next week, so 2 weeks from then, that's when I posted, like, my first video. And then I saw the response from it. And, of course, I'm not affected by people's opinions. I didn't care. Like, that whole dancing and freestyling, that was for me, personally. So the first thing I said to myself was, I want to get into dance, but I want to get into it how I wanted to get into it when I was a kid. Without fear, without judgment. Now that I'm out, now that I'm not in front of fake people's faces, not to call them fake, but I'm not in front of judgmental people's faces, I could do what I want. And I have the freedom. Like, I already graduated high school. I did my credits. I did all that. So now I have absolute freedom to do what I want to do. And the first thing was dance. And I got into that heavy. I was learning different styles. I was meeting people from, Germany, Poland, Russia, Japan, Korea. I was meeting all these great people. They was telling me about their stories. And I was just like, this is what I want to do. And I continue with it. And I still continue with this day.
So you are doing that?
Yeah, I'm doing that now. Yeah, it's not like I dropped it. I'm still doing that.
Because, like, my biggest concern, like, it hurts me to see this passion behind your eyes with dance. And it hurts me to see that you're not giving yourself that 100% all the time.
Right.
Yes, we have a 9-to-5 job. I get that. I have that too. But I don't deny, the stuff that I love to do, playing guitar or whatever. I may take a break from it, but at the end of the day, I allow myself to go through it. So, my biggest concern for you is, like, you hit it right on the nose. Like, I see myself getting more involved into dance. And, like, for me as a friend, I want you to get more involved in dance 100%, with the 9-to-5. And, I don't know, do what you got to do for that. Because, to me, it's deeper than making it into a career or whatever, or trying to make money off of it. Because it's literally your face lights up, and the passion is so strong because this is something that came from childhood from you. And for me, and honestly, I had deja vu twice in this interview, which is what this was meant to happen. Things that I learned from Guru. So I had deja vu twice. So you need to continue that, like, very strongly. Definitely. Because it's incredible to see that. And there's another part, there's a concern for me. It's like, well, I hope he doesn't stop it. I hope he goes 100%, 100 miles per hour with this dance stuff, man, because you need it, and there's a big purpose behind it. Yeah. And I see it vividly. And that's the good thing I like about it, is that it's not like I'm not in a position where I'm just like, well, let's see what happens. Like, I know once I take a full dive into it, like, I see the possibilities and I see the results. Like, my ultimate dream would be, like, to, of course, once the career establishes, I'm not really focused on that. I love the fact of traveling, and I love the fact of going to different arenas, going to different settings, and I want, like, my ultimate goal would be, like, to session with the best, to battle the best, to say, like, hey, I was in this arena with this guy, that guy, like, these popular artists that is great and all, but it's another thing to say, yeah, I was in there, I was in the same space as them. Like, we can go toe to toe, and I've come across, like, I always say, like certain individuals, like, Tony McGregor, he's a great house dancer, been in the same space as him, been in the same space as the great Tight Eyes, he's the creator of Crump. Like, I've been in these spaces, and I've seen it for myself, and when I look at them, I'm like, yo, I could do that. I know I could do that. And then the ultimate dream would be, which will happen, will be to bring it back to Staten Island. Like, I always want to give that same passion and that same freedom that I experienced. I would love to give it back to the streets of Shaolin, as they say. Shout out to Staten Island. But to go back to Staten, because there's once I graduated from junior high school and high school, they cut all my dance programs. All the dance programs that I had growing up with, they
everything cut. They don't have, like, if I go back, there's no performances no more. There's no, like, no type of dance culture at all. And I kind of, like, it hurt me a little bit because, like, if it wasn't for those programs, I would have never been into dance how I am now. Of course, you know, I had my sister, but, you know, she was just like the example of what it could be. I never really was like, okay, my sister's doing it, let me go into it. Like, it was those programs alone that made me say, yo, this is dope. There's more to this.
It sounds like you have a big responsibility within yourself and also to what you want to do when you finally fulfill that big responsibility with yourself to bring it back, because it was there for you and it gave you everything, and it's only right, like how you said, naturally, I want to bring this back to my hometown, because if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be who and what I am right now. Right. So, you know, thank you for sharing so much. We got to know you. I mean, I got to know you like in a whole different setting now, which is like amazing. Here I thought everything was like drumming was the main factor and you just dabble and dance, but it was the other way around. Yeah. And I want to thank you for that. Right now, we're going to move forward to the first segment of this interview, and it's called Let's Look Inside. And the first question to this segment is there a meaning to life? If so, what is it to you? Whew. And it doesn't have to be. Sometimes people are like, "Oh, I gotta give this 10 paragraphs." It could be something so simple.
I was saying to myself, I gotta prepare for this. I was listening to people's different podcasts. I'm like, "Oh, that's deep. I'm gonna use that." No. Is there a meaning to life? Of course.
And what is it to you?
Of course. What is it to me is, What is it to me? I would say is. That's because I wanna make sure I'm straight. I'm looking for it. I'm looking for it. No, I'm looking for it.
It's there. Take the mask off and just say
it. Use my words against me.
You trying to like structure this sentence, but it's right there. Just say it. It's gonna make sense.
It's really just to live. Like, the ultimate goal is to live completely free, like to get a taste of true freedom. Like, dance is free, but it's really just the icing on the cake. To experience true freedom is to go anywhere you want to, experience anything you want to do, learn anything you want to learn. It's oh man, it's a lot.
I think but what you just did, if they take that, that's doing a lot, because there's so many things you have to explore and live and learn through.
Yeah, I don't mean it to be like I don't mean for it to be simple, but it really is.
It is simple.
It really is simple. Like, I can't make it like a whole, like, as you said, a 10-page paragraph. Like, it's just to live. Like, everyone has as you just said, everyone has a different interpretation of what living is, but you have to find what your life factor is and how do you contribute to this thing called life. You know, everybody has different avenues. Everybody has different slots that they fill in to. You just have to find your slot. And once you find it and it's yours and you know that this is for you, no one can take that away from you. So it's really just getting to that point. And some people find it within, as I did, like I found it when I was a kid with dance and drumming and stuff like that. But then you have other people who find it late in life, in their 40s and their 50s. And life hits you in different ways and at different times. So one thing I learned, of course, hopefully I'm not getting too ahead of myself, but one thing I learned is, one, not to rush it. Like, it's going to come. And when it does...
That's what she said.
When it does, don't deny it. Like, I realized that was my mistake in the beginning, was I denied it. And from there, I tried following other people's passions and trying to mimic it when it wasn't really mine. Even though I was good at it in some aspects, but overall, it wasn't mine. So the meaning of life to me is finding out what's yours and then owning it completely. And that's really it. Like, it's cool. Bougie, it's simple, it's cheesy, but it's the truth.
It's perfect.
It's the truth.
The next the next question to that segment is, if you can teach one concept to everyone, what concept will have the most impact on humanity? This is not another 10.
Wait, what do you mean by, like, concept? Like, I just want to make sure.
It could be something so simple as love yourself. If they take that concept, if you teach everyone that one concept, to me, that will have the biggest impact on humanity.
Okay, like the one concept I would tell people that you must learn is learning how to use your fear. Meaning, fear is used in such a negative light, and I always tell people fear is actually good, not bad. It's just you have to learn how to use fear correctly. So, meaning, if you fear going out in social settings, right? You need to question that. Instead, I would say, why not fear being alone? Why not fear being secluded and missing out? Fear the what ifs. Fear, there's so many things like fear not doing anything with your life. Fear not being a better person. Fear not being open-minded.
Hone in on that fear and don't allow it to hold you back, but to propel you.
Right. Use fear for your benefit. Because that was my biggest thing. Like, growing up, I was afraid of so many different things. Like, really, I was afraid of a lot of things. Like, a lot of things. But, you know, once I got to the age of understanding, I looked at fear and said, okay, you can use it for your benefit or you can use it to hold you back. So, if that was my, like, biggest thing I can contribute or give to humanity, it would be learn how to use fear correctly.
Our next segment is called Words from My Spiritual Teacher, Guru Enlightenment. Everyone knows by now and forever she is my spiritual teacher. She has taught me so many lessons about myself and the world, spirituality, to believe in yourself. And you guys should have checked her out on her website, you know.
Check it out.
Her Instagram or Facebook, and all that information will be in the description. This segment, I basically share some of her writings.
Okay.
And this one is actually a meme that she shared. That
I love me.
This is her meme, and she's basically saying, when you focus, you allow yourself to follow your journey. Find your purpose and be in control. What do you think about that?
Absolutely true. Right on the dot. Especially the find your purpose part. Because, you know, it's said time and time again, you can either exist or you can live. And there are two different things. You know, when you don't know what your purpose is, or when you refuse to acknowledge your purpose, you exist. You just go. You're literally like a walking zombie. You just walk and you just go about your day to day. You engage in small talk. You're on autopilot.
I think also, I agree with you. You know, this sums up, and it's so weird how this happens on majority of the episodes. This sums up your life, you know, and currently what you need to do, right?
Right.
So you had to focus at one point where you, for so many years, were locked up and wasn't exploring.
Shout out to Akon.
So you had to really focus and hone in on yourself to be like, I need to explore. I need to find out what I like to do, what gets me going. You started focusing that on dance. And through dance, it showed you so many lessons that you shared today. And you started following your journey, and it showed you your purpose. Till today, it's still teaching you a lot. And I think you nailed it again, where, man, where do I see myself? I want to get more involved in dance. Like, there's a deeper thing. So the lesson that pretty much it showed you in the beginning to focus is coming back again to tell you now is the time to go to the next level of your focus with dance.
I agree.
You need to find that purpose even deeper, because it's going to lead you to this journey of the unknown that's there waiting for you. But you have to get there. You have to start making those deeper moves to get to the next level. You need to transform now to a different, a new. And it starts with that focus.
Right.
Thank you for checking out the episode. Please help us out by subscribing to our podcast, writing a review, sharing with a friend, or leaving a comment. Thank you. This will help us so much.